So the first one was actually a question to Helen. So the theme for Gifted Awareness Week is thriving as gifted. So what does that look like? What is a student, a child who is gifted, who is thriving? What do they look like at home? What do they look like in the classroom?
Well, I'm glad you asked. No, I've been thinking about this quite a bit. As a classroom teacher, as somebody who's worked with gifted children and their families for quite a few years now, I think gifted children who are thriving are two things. They are emotionally and socially safe, and they are intellectually or whatever domain they are gifted in, but we'll talk mainly about intellectually gifted children. They are socially and emotionally safe, and they are intellectually challenged. Now that safety, that is provided by through them being acknowledged, through being identified. We need to know, we need to be able to describe their giftedness and be able to say what level their giftedness is. So that support, they are acknowledged, they are understood. We know their strengths, we know their needs, we know their interests, and they are supported. So we're taking all of that knowledge from their identification and from knowing them, and we are applying it to giving them that support. So emotionally and socially safe, intellectually gifted, and intellectually challenged, and that's where our training as teachers comes in, and we are applying those content, process, and product modifications to meet their needs as gifted learners. Now, what does that look like when they have those things and they are thriving? I just want to draw our attention to that tiniest word in the theme for this week, thriving as gifted. They're not thriving and gifted. It's not a coincidence. They are thriving as a gifted person. Their giftedness is a part of who they are. It's a part of their identity. So as that acknowledgement of who they are, understanding them, part of that is also helping them to understand themselves and to understand how being gifted forms a part of their identity, and to help that part of their identity be a positive part of their identity. So what does it look like when a gifted child is thriving? Again, two things. Firstly, that child is unapologetically themselves. How do we know who that child is? I'm going to repeat what Geraldine said, and their parents know them. 9 times out of 10, their parents really know who they are. And if that child has that support and that challenge at home, and they are free to be themselves at home, that parent really does know who they are. And if that parent comes, if who the parent is describing at home is different to who you're seeing at school, we have a problem. I can't tell you how many times at a Gateways program, I'd have a parent pick their child up at the end of their first session with tears streaming down their face, saying, this is the first time, I'm going to get teary thinking about it, this is the first time that another adult has seen my child. This is the first time they have been visible. This is the first time that they've made friends, that another child has seen them and liked them for who they are. Which brings me to the next thing. A gifted child who is thriving has connections. They have meaningful connections. Now, those connections may not necessarily, well, chances are they are not with their chronological age peers. Don't be like me in my first year of teaching. I had an exceptionally gifted girl, and I just went by what my colleagues told me, and that was the old, if they don't learn to talk to their peers, they'll never learn social skills. She's got to get out of that library and she's got to get into the playground. Well, this girl, like many gifted children, had a real connection with our school librarian. And you know what? If it's a connection, if it's a meaningful connection, if it helps them to feel emotionally and socially safe, nurture it. I know Geraldine mentioned tribes, finding their tribe. For me, I've always said people, and when I've taught gifted children in groups, I've often explained to them, some people are lucky enough to find their people when they're really young, and neurotypical children, they might find people just like them when they're in kindergarten, and they might keep their bestie all the way. The more different you are to the rest of the population, the more likely it is that you're going to go a lot further in life before you find your people, before you find your tribe. It might not be till high school, it might not be till undergrad uni, but it might also not be until post-grad university. So we need to think about, do we want these children to take part of their identity as being gifted as also being really lonely? We want them to know that who they are is lovable and worthy of kindness and love and attention and connection, and that loneliness isn't going to last forever. There are other people out there just like them.